So we're getting to that point in the video where I hope for letter C I sound a little bit like a broken record. We're solving. I do still want to have access to those numbers, those perfect squares. 0 and 1 are also perfect squares, but we don't need them ever for this part of the process. I could write more if I want to, but I want to kind of move along. We are doing PEMDAS in reverse. Here's my equal sign line. Is there anything that needs to be added or subtracted? There sure is. I'm going to subtract that 11 from both sides. These cancel. Negative 11 combined with 3 make negative 8. What's left over here is an x squared. I'm going to move up that ladder and say, is there anything on this side of the equation that needs to be multiplied or divided? And the answer is no. So I'll move up the ladder and I say, are there any exponents to get rid of? Of course there are. There's a square, and what I can do is square root and square root. So because I'm the person who put the square root in there, it wasn't there until I put it there. It's a person solving the problem. I know I've got to put in a plus or a minus. And 8 is not on my list, but there's a number on my list that goes into 8. This number goes into 8 evenly. So I'm going to take this 8 and break it up into that perfect square and whatever else is left that we need to multiply to make 8. So that's going to be negative 4 times 2. And I'll keep the negative on the square root. It makes it easier to think things through for me personally. So I'll say plus or minus the square root of negative 4 is, well, if it was positive, I'd just say it's 2, but it's negative, so I'm just imagining that I can do it. So I'm going to tack an I on there. And I don't know, hold on, let me write this middle step. This is what's going on in my head right now. Whoopsie doodles. So this negative root negative 4 definitely becomes 2i. Square root of 2, I don't know what that is. So I'll just put a root 2. That's going to be my final answer. X is by itself. Everything's cool. This one's pretty different. So I'm going to take my breath real quick. And we'll do this one together. Now this one looks very different, right? It's a lot more involved, and I'm just going to say, as I said in class, you want to fight your instincts. You're really going to have a strong urge to multiply those parentheses out. Don't do it. That's not how we want to tackle this problem. If there's just one kind of x in the problem, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use PEMDAS in reverse. It's a great way to handle this problem. Now keeping in mind that it's a very, like there's parentheses, so they're way at the top here. So I'm not even going to look inside those parentheses. I don't care about them subtract 4 at all until I've gotten rid of the parentheses. It's the last thing I'm going to deal with because I'm starting at the bottom and I'm working my way towards the top. So when I ask myself the typical questions, is there anything to add or subtract? Anything to multiply or divide? It's also with the phrase, outside of those parentheses, is there anything to add or subtract? Outside the parentheses, is there anything to multiply or divide? And that's how I'm going to tackle this problem, right? So there's still a big fat wall in my equal sign. I am trying to get this thing all by itself. It is stuck inside some parentheses and a lot of stuff is happening. Outside of those parentheses, is anything being added or subtracted? Yes. Outside of these parentheses, we have an 18 being subtracted. So we will add 18 to both sides. These will cancel. Everything on this left side stays the same, so I'm just going to copy it all down, being careful to not miscopy anything, right? These guys combine to make a positive 28. And I took care of that first step, saying outside of the parentheses there was something to subtract or add. I did it. I'm going to move up the ladder. Outside of those parentheses, is there any multiplication or division happening? Yes. It's being multiplied by negative 7. So I'll do the opposite of that. I will divide by negative 7. I'm not distributing. I'm not doing this. I know you really want to. Fight the urge. It doesn't work that way. We have to divide both sides by negative 7. That'll make this go away. And of course this calculation ends up equaling, 28 divided by negative 7 is negative 4. So what's left on this side is an x minus a 4, and it's squared. And 28 divided by negative 7 is negative 4. I took care of this. Check. So I'm going to move up the ladder. Are there any exponents outside of the parentheses? Yes, there are. There's a squared. Let me get rid of it. Square rooting, square rooting. Ding, ding. Now that that squared is gone, Now that everything that was outside the parentheses is gone, there's no reason to have parentheses anymore, right? We don't need them. Once everything that's outside of them goes away, they can go away too. We don't need them, so they're gone. And then this is a number that actually is on my list of perfect squares. I know the square root of 4 is 2, but this is negative, so I'm just imagining I can do it. So it's 2i. Of course, also I have to keep in mind, I put the square root in the problem, so I'm going to include a plus or minus. And that's good. So I've simplified the right side. So now I'm all the way back down at the bottom. Parentheses are gone. I'm back down here. I'm looking at this side of the equation, and I'm saying to myself, is there anything to add or subtract? And of course, I can see they subtracted 4. I'm going to add 4. And the last thing I need to point out is that this has an I, and this doesn't. Right? This has an I, and this doesn't. So these are not alike. And if terms are not alike, you cannot combine them, so you do not put them together. Your final answer is going to be 4 plus or minus 2i. If you want to, you can write this as x equals 4 plus 2i as one answer and 4 minus 2i as the other. I don't care which of these two things you pick. They're both fine answers. But what I don't want to see is people saying like 4 plus 2i is 6i or 4 minus 2i is 2i. Like that doesn't work that way. Because if one thing has an I and one thing doesn't, don't put them together. They're not like terms. That's it. I hope this makes sense. Again, my usual pitch for office hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm almost always there. If I'm ever not there and I'm supposed to be there, shoot me an IM. I might have just gotten involved in something else I was doing. But I'm always at this computer waiting to help people with math. It's what I love to do. And I'm happy to do it. See you guys in class. Be safe.